Thank you all for joining us on our Coffee with Kendall. I often get so many requests for travel with fewer kids, travel in smaller ships, and Kendall, we want to go to unique destinations. So today I have brought Mitch Platt from Azamara Cruises to join us because I feel like Azamara is a perfect fit for these requests. And so I'm going to turn it over to Mitch, and he is going to tell us more about traveling the Azamara way.
So I guess I'll take it away. So thank you so much for Kendall, and thank you all for joining us this morning. Hope everybody has a good cup of coffee, and we'll keep you all awake during the presentation. Again, my name's Mitch, and I'm with Azamara, and I actually have been with Azamara since its birth back in 2007. So a little bit of Azamara history. There was a cruise line. It was called the Renaissance Cruise Lines. Renaissance had 8 beautiful, small boutique ships. They sailed around the world. They weren't fiscally responsible, and 9/11 happened, and Renaissance went belly up. And their ships sat empty at shipyards around the world for several years. And back in 2007, Azamara was actually born, and originally it was actually going to be part of the Celebrity Cruises fleet. However, the decision was made at the 11th hour to create a standalone brand simply because the ships were so unique and so special compared to what Celebrity had at that time, which was Millennium Class and Century Class. And Azamara was born in 2007. In 2009, Azamara then fell under Royal Caribbean's umbrella for several years. So the Royal Caribbean salespeople were repping Azamara as well. In 2015, the decision was made to create a standalone Azamara sales team. And Azamara really has kind of been independent since then. Now, we started off as a 2-ship operation. And in 2018, 11 years after our inception, we were actually able to procure our 3rd ship, which became the Azamara Pursuit. And this is a former Renaissance cruise ship as well. So again, identical. Fast forward to COVID. We all know what happened in COVID. And Royal Caribbean needed basically cash. So the decision was made to sell Azamara to a private equity firm out of New York called Sycamore Partners. So Azamara was actually sold to Sycamore Partners it's been 3 years now. In 2021, March of 2021, we were sold. At first, I was very apprehensive about the sale, but with shortly thereafter, I actually became quite optimistic and quite excited. And the reason being, within a week of the sale, it was announced that our new owners were actually purchasing our 4th ship, which is a former Renaissance cruise ship and has become the Azamara Onward. So put things in perspective, it took us 11 years under Royal Caribbean's umbrella to get a 3rd ship, 1 week under the new ownership to get a 4th ship. So the new ownership, again, this private equity firm out of New York called Sycamore Partners, is very committed to growing the brand. And this is their first venture into the travel segment. And they have done some really great things just in the time that they have been our owners. So I'm very excited about that. But what makes Azamara unique and different? When you start to think about this, the number one reason people choose a cruise is because of the destination. And Azamara owns that, what we call destination immersion. And that simply means that we have carefully crafted the most incredible itineraries out there in the cruise world, focusing on the ports of call. And when you start to look at our itineraries, what you're going to find is more time in the ports of call than any other cruise product, coupled with more overnight stays and more late night stays. And that truly has been the missing link with traditional cruising, because typically you're back on the ship at 5 o'clock and you're waving goodbye to these wonderful destinations, and you're not able to experience these wonderful places after dark. And I'm sure you all would agree with me. So many of these wonderful places transform from daytime to nighttime. And if you go back into a port of call after the sun sets, it gives you a whole different perspective. And that truly is what makes Azamara unique and different. Back in 2017, we were also the first cruise line to introduce country-intensive voyages. So if you're looking to go to a specific country, instead of perhaps considering a land tour, I encourage you to consider an Azamara cruise, because we all know cruising is a very great value. And moreover, you don't have to live out of your suitcase. All of our ships, as I mentioned, are identical. They are 30,000 tons, and that equates to 700 guests and 408 crew members. So our staff to guest ratio is for every staff member, 1.7 guests. But more importantly, 65% of the ports of call that we go to, you would never be able to go there on a mainstream cruise ship because they can't fit. So this opens up so many incredible destinations that typically would be overlooked by traditional cruising. And then the icing on the cake is that over half of the places we go to will feature an overnight or a late night stay. And we define late night stay as 8 p.m. or later. So you're going to be able to experience these wonderful places after dark. Now, I love this slide because, again, this really hits home. Out of all the days that we sailed in 2023 with our 4 ships, 52% of those days featured either an overnight stay or a late night stay. And we surpass our competitive set by heads and tails. And I can safely state that Azamara really has the most immersive itineraries out there. Now, you all who are, if you're traveling with us, you also want to understand that price value relationship. And Azamara is more inclusive. So what we include on all of our cruises are, number one, your gratuities. Number two, your beverages. And by beverages, my friends, that includes standard hard spirits, a selection of wines by the glass, selection of beer, bottled water, soft drinks, and your specialty coffees, your cappuccinos and lattes. And that is anytime the bars are open. So it is not just for meals. You theoretically can wake up and kick your day off with a Bloody Mary and go on a roll the rest of the day if you so choose. But it's nice because you're not being nickeled and dimed. We also include what we call the Azamazing Evening event, and that is one per voyage on every sailing 7 nights and longer. This is more than a shore excursion. It's really an authentic cultural event at one of the destinations that we overnight in, or we have a late night departure. And I'll touch about a little bit further about that in the presentation. We also include complimentary self-service laundry. And why I want to call that out is it really is a nice benefit because many of our cruises tend to be longer, and many of our guests also will stay on for back-to-back cruises because the ports don't repeat. And so as a result, you don't have to pack an additional suitcase and incur that baggage fee. You can do your laundry on the ship. And again, would you like to spend more time in the port of call? And I could assure you, every time I ask that question, you know, our clientele, everybody raises their hands and says yes. We talked about the Azamazing Evening event that I mentioned previously. This is a beautiful example of one of our Azamazing Evening events. This photograph was actually taken in Ephesus. If you've ever been to Ephesus, it is insanely crowded during the day. Ephesus is really quite remarkable. It was the eastern capital of the Roman Empire. The buildings are very well preserved, but again, it's really, really crowded. How we operate the Azamazing Evening in this instance is our guests will have an early dinner on the ship. They'll get off the ship. We'll have motor coaches waiting to transport all 700 guests over to the entrance to Ephesus. It takes around 15 minutes. They come out, unlock the gates for the Azamara guests. Our guests are greeted with beverages and hors d'oeuvres. You're able to meander through Ephesus at night without contending with thousands of other tourists. It's only going to be the Azamara guests that are going to be there. And what we've done is a classical concert under the stars in the Odeon, which is the Roman amphitheater built in the 1st century. Now, because each of our itineraries are unique and different, each itinerary is going to have its own unique Azamazing Evening event based upon the locations. The other marquee event we do on every cruise is our White Night Party. So if you do sail with Azamara, don't forget to pack a white outfit. How we operate this is we take away all the deck furniture and we set up tables and chairs and we dress everything out in white. We set up an incredible buffet. We serve lobster, rack of lamb, sushi, crepe Suzette. Our officers actually serve the food. Our singers, our dancers, our band performs, and it turns into a beautiful dance party with people dancing under the stars. It is, our guests absolutely love this event. And this is, again, one of the two marquee events we do on all of our cruises, the Odds Amazing Evening and the White Night Party. Now, for those of you who've never been on our ships, I'm just going to walk you through some of the interior slides. When you walk on our ships, you really feel like you're walking into a luxurious boutique hotel. The decor is very contemporary, very light, very organic, and very luxurious. And this is the grand staircase right in the center of the ship. The way these ships were built, 90% of the rooms are exterior facing, and approximately 90% of those have balconies. So the most common stateroom are going to be the verandas. And the verandas are 175 square feet with a 40 square foot balcony. Very well appointed and plenty of storage space, plenty of drawer space, and plenty of hanging closet space. Now, if you move up to our suite categories, our suite guests are going to get more inclusions. The major inclusions are going to be your own personal English-style butler who will truly spoil you. And probably the best inclusion, in my personal opinion, is complimentary specialty dining in our specialty dining rooms at no surcharge. Otherwise, it is a $50 per person surcharge. So theoretically, you can eat every night in one of our specialty dining restaurants if you're in a suite at no charge. These are our spa suites. We actually have two of them. They're located in a private corridor adjacent to the spa with beautiful spa bathrooms. And this is our Club Continent Suite, which is our entry-level suite. And I would equate this to the size of a regular hotel room. Now, dining on Azamara is, number one, country club casual attire. No formal nights, no dress up. It is also open seating in our main dining room, Discoveries. You can eat when you want and with whom you want. And the takeaway is you don't have to be rushed to get back to the ship because you have a set dining time. And again, you can eat when you want with whom you want. We have two specialty dining rooms, a steakhouse and an Italian restaurant. Those are $50 per person surcharge. If you're in a suite, it is complimentary. You do make the reservations when you first get on the ship. And then we have several casual dining venues as well and 24-hour room service. The food on Azamara is remarkable. It really is exquisite. And you will walk away very, very happy with the selections, the service, and the cuisine itself. For a ship our size, we really have incredible entertainment. We have our own singers and dancers. We have our own orchestra. We have our own production shows. If we don't have a production show, we'll have a guest performer, or we'll have the White Night Party or the Odds Amazing Evening. But here's the difference with traditional cruising and sailing with us. Quite often, we're in port at night. And if you're like me and we're in port at night, I'm going to be off the ship enjoying the wonderful destinations. So you don't have to be as glued to the daily programming that typically you would be on another cruise ship, because on other cruise lines, every night you're going to be back on the ship. So the programming is very important. In addition, we also have a full service spa and fitness center. So you can get your, I'm sorry, can somebody mute themselves, please? So you can get your own workouts in and keep up with your exercise routine, or take advantage of any of the spa treatments. Alrighty. So I mentioned about we were the first cruise line to introduce country intensive voyages. And again, if you're to go to a specific country, I would encourage you to consider Azamara. Again, I'm hearing some talking in the background. If you'd be so kind just to mute yourself, please. Alrighty. So let's take a deeper dive so you really can understand really how we differ from other cruise lines. This is one of our Spain intensive cruises. And for many, this sailing is from Lisbon to Barcelona. And for many people, the highlight of this cruise is when we go to Seville. And that is why I included the map on the upper right-hand corner. Seville is not on the coast. It actually is 60 miles inland. But yet, because our ship is smaller, we're able to sail up the Guadalquivir River. And it takes us around 6 hours. It's a little bit over 60 miles. And we dock right in the heart of Seville, a 5-minute walk from the Plaza de España, which is this photograph you see in the background, and around a 15-minute walk from the cathedral and the Santa Cruz neighborhood. Moreover, we overnight in Seville. You actually have 2 full days in Seville, allowing you to experience Seville on perhaps the first day, and then on the second day, if you want to venture to the historic city of Cordoba, you're able to do that as well. Cordoba is around an hour and 45 minutes away from Seville, but another beautiful historic Andalusian city. Highly recommended. Other cruise lines, when they go to Seville, typically are going to be at Cadiz. Cadiz is on the Atlantic coast. Cadiz is an hour and 45-minute motor coach ride each way to and from Seville. So again, this is a major benefit for our clients. And let me just share with you this quick video. And that is just our ship actually sailing in the Guadalquivir River. And it really is quite remarkable. Again, we're not a river cruise line. We're never going to be in the Danube or in the Rhine. But because, again, we're smaller, we're able to touch several rivers. And our France intensive sailing is very similar to the experience I just shared with you with regards to Seville. And this is from Southampton all the way to Bordeaux. It's a 10-night sailing coming up this September. On this sailing, we actually will be going down 2 rivers. When we go to Rouen, which is the closest port for Paris, we sail approximately 60 miles down the Seine River, and we dock right in the heart of Rouen. It is still around an hour and a half from Paris, but it is the closest port to Paris. Other cruise lines, if they're going to be going to quote unquote Paris, they're going to be at Le Havre, which is on the Atlantic coast, and that adds another hour each way to and from Paris. And we do overnight there in Rouen. So if you like, you can get off the ship, make your way to Paris, hang out in Paris, overnight there if you so choose, and come back the next day, or party until 3 o'clock in the morning and come back to the ship. And the ship is your hotel in Rouen. When we go to Bordeaux, very similar, we sail 80 miles down the Gironde River, and we dock right in the heart of Bordeaux in the old city. And the ship is your hotel for the last day of the cruise. We also go to Honfleur and Cherbourg for the Normandy beaches, or if you want to go to Mont Saint-Michel. We go to one of my favorite places in all of France, Saint-Malo, which is in Brittany. And if you ever go there, you've got to try the galettes, which are the buckwheat crepes. Absolutely incredible. We have a variety of different Italy intensive cruises. And this specific sailing is from Rome to Venice. What I love when we do Italy, we typically bypass Naples. Naples, in my opinion, is an ugly industrial city. We bring our guests directly to the Amalfi Coast. And as you can see here, we go to Sorrento, Italy as a port of call. And moreover, we are in Sorrento till 10 o'clock at night. And from Sorrento, easy drive to Pompeii or Herculaneum. Or you can take the ferry ride, 30-minute ferry ride over to the beautiful island of Capri. Or you can take a beautiful drive down the coast and perhaps enjoy a wonderful lunch in Positano. Then we go to Amalfi as a port of call. And again, very few cruise ships go to Amalfi as a port of call. And from Amalfi, I highly recommend you go to Ravello, which is this beautiful town overlooking on the top of the mountain, overlooking Amalfi. Highly recommend that. And we go around the Bootiel, making our way all the way to Venice. And the ship overnights in Venice for the last day of the cruise. This is one of our Ireland intensive cruises. And what I love about this itinerary is you board the ship in Dublin, and the ship is your hotel for the first night of the cruise. And then you leave Dublin at 10 p.m. on day number 2. And then when we go to Belfast, you have another overnight in Belfast, and we circumnavigate the beautiful Emerald Isle. We have 2 Iceland intensive cruises this summer, and then we also have one next year. And what I love when we do Iceland is we go up north. We go to some of the places that typically are overlooked by mainstream cruising. We go to Akureyri, which is the second largest city in Iceland. Put things in perspective, population 30,000 people, yet it's the second largest city. But from Akureyri, it's easy access to this photograph in the background that I personally took last summer, which are the Mývatn baths. These are geothermal baths, a very, very natural setting. If you're going to Iceland and you're going to be making your way up to Akureyri, I highly recommend that you go here if you're going to do the geothermal baths. Do not do the Blue Lagoon in Reykjavik. It is very touristy, very crowded. Up here, a completely different perspective, and it really is quite stunning. And from here, it's an easy drive to the Godafoss waterfalls, which are not to be missed. And Iceland, the land of fire and ice, truly a remarkable destination. This itinerary caught my eye. This is a new itinerary that we're going to be doing next year, from Grand Canary all the way to Lisbon, and we're going to be going to Morocco, making calls in both Agadir and Casablanca, something new and different. Because of what's happening in the Middle East, we are bringing back one of our ships to North America earlier. And as a result, we have this beautiful Canada-New England sailing October 12th for the fall foliage, going from Boston all the way to Montreal. And so, as you can see here, we're going to be going to the maritime region of Canada, going to New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, making our way down the St. Lawrence Seaway, overnight in Quebec City, and concluding in Montreal. We do offer specialty voyages, and these are cruises that revolve around events and festivals. And one of the specialty voyages we do every year is the Monaco Grand Prix. And next year, we have 2 cruises that coincide with the Grand Prix in Monte Carlo. And we do sell tickets to the Grand Prix as a shore excursion. Every year, we have a beautiful Scotland intensive cruise in August. And why is that relevant? Because the military tattoo, not to be missed. And we do sell tickets to the military tattoo as a shore excursion as well. And every year we go to Rio for Carnival, and 2025 is no exception. However, in 2025, you're going to get a two for one. You're not only going to get Carnival in Rio, but you're also going to be able to sail down the Amazon River. This sailing is a rather longer sailing. It's 25 nights. It's from Buenos Aires to Barbados. And again, we have a double overnight in Rio for Carnival. We do sell tickets to the Carnival festivities in the Sambadrome as a shore excursion. And then we are also going to give our guests the experience to sail down the Amazon River. We make our way all the way to Manaus. It is approximately 900 miles inland. And we do make stops both going into Manaus and out of Manaus. And this is really going to be a remarkable cruise for somebody who's looking for something unique and different. And every year we have a beautiful British Isles cruise that coincides with the British Open. And we do sell tickets to the British Open as a shore excursion. And next year it's going to be played at the Royal Portrush. And again, this is a beautiful British Isles cruise. We do have a partnership with a company called Perry Golf. And on select voyages, Perry Golf offers golf packages. So you're able to take a wonderful cruise with Azamara and also play several rounds of golf at world-renowned golf courses. And we do offer that on the British Isles cruise that coincides with the British Open. So if you're an avid golfer, this is something you may wish to consider. And again, it is on select sailings. Next year, we have 5 Japan intensive cruises. Now, Japan is probably the most quintessential country intensive voyage we have out there, simply because when you think about it, Japan is a country of islands, so it makes it very conducive to cruising. But moreover, Japan is insanely expensive. It's expensive for lodging, for food, and for transportation, making cruising really a great value. Now, we're there in the springtime, so on many of the voyages will coincide with the cherry blossom season. But on top of that, I do want to point out the World Expo is going to be held in Osaka, and it will also coincide with several of our cruises. So if you want to take advantage of and go in early or stay late and go to the World Expo in Osaka, you can take advantage of that as well next year. This itinerary caught my eye. I personally want to do this. And we've never done anything like this before. But this is a 60-night cruise from Southampton all the way to Barcelona. There are only 4 ports of call, but we're staying in port for 3 days in each of these ports of call. So we're going to be in Bordeaux for 3 days, sailing down the Gironde River. We'll be in Lisbon for 3 days. And where we dock in Lisbon, literally, it is right at the base of the historic Alfama neighborhood in Lisbon. So you're right in central Lisbon. 3 days in Seville. As I pointed out, we'll be sailing down the Guadalquivir River, docking right in the heart of Seville. And then lastly, 3 days in Barcelona. And we're going to be going to Greenland for the very first time next year. We've never done Greenland before. So we have 3 cruises that will be including Greenland. This one is from Reykjavik to Montreal. So you're going to board in Reykjavik. You'll make our way to Greenland. We'll be in Greenland for 4 days. 3 ports of call in Greenland and 1 day of cruising Prince Christian Sound. And then we're going to make our way to the maritime region of Canada, going down the St. Lawrence Seaway, overnighting in Quebec City, concluding in Montreal. And then we have a reverse, Montreal back to Reykjavik. And then later we have another return from Reykjavik back to Montreal. During our winter and their summer, one of our ships will be sailing South Africa. And we have a series of South Africa intensive cruises, round trip Cape Town. If you're going to Africa, of course you want to see the wildlife. You want to see the big 5. I can assure you that if you take our cruise and you do our shore excursions, you're going to be able to see the big 5, because we do offer shore excursions to the game reserves in close proximity to where we dock. But if you want to extend, we do have a partnership with Mikado Safaris, offering 2 different pre or post packages. We have a 4-night package that includes Kruger National Park, and we have a 5-night package that includes the Chobe Game Reserve in Botswana, along with Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe. So we have those 2 options also available if you do want to extend pre or post. During our winter and their summer, our other ship is down in Australia, New Zealand, and we have a series of New Zealand intensive cruises. But we also have this specific cruise, which is also really quite remarkable and very unique and very different, from Perth all the way to Melbourne. It's Australia intensive, but it's doing the southern coast of Australia. So something very unique and very different. We also have one of our other cruises that is in South America during our winter and their summer. And every year we do have one sailing that incorporates Antarctica. Now, if any of you have the time or the financial resources and you want to go away for 155 nights, think about Azamara. We have this incredible world cruise. This cruise is from Miami to Barcelona in 2026, January, I think it's January, early January is when we're departing. It is 155 nights. It's 10 segments. If you book the entire world cruise, you will get inclusions worth over $22,000, and that includes $7,000 onboard ship credit. That's going to buy you a lot of shore excursions. You're going to get a lot of additional perks as well. And it really is going to be the trip of a lifetime. So again, just want to throw that out there just in case you may be interested. We do have that option. One of the other things that we're encouraging to people to do is that if you pay in full outside of 180 days prior to your departure, we're going to give you a 5% of the value of your cruise in the form of onboard ship credit. I think this is a really great deal. When you think about it, if you were to take, let's say, $5,000 and put it in a savings account, could you earn 5% interest in 6 months? You couldn't. So I just want to throw that out there just in case. We have an incredible marketplace offer running until August 21st. And this is available on available on 62 sailings. You would have your choice on these select sailings of either up to $1,000 air savings if you do the air with us, or you would be able to take advantage of our enjoyment package, which includes $300 onboard ship credit, Wi-Fi, and upgraded to the premium liquor package for 2 people. Now remember, liquor is included, but that's standard. This will get you the premium brands. That has a value of over $1,100. So you have your choice of one or the other, but it really is a very, very rich offer. And then for bookings further out, we're offering what we call our early booking bonus. And this is if you book a veranda or above, you'll save 20%. And then you're also going to get the enjoyment package that I just mentioned as well. But wait, there's more, as they say. We have an exclusive 2-week sale exclusively for Brandt Travel. So if you book an Azamara cruise between today and July 10th, you're going to get an additional onboard ship credit based upon your stateroom accommodations. So if you book a suite with us, you're going to get $500, a veranda $400, or an ocean view $300. And that combines with our marketplace offer. So when we hang up from the Zoom call, I want you to call Kendall and book your next Azamara cruise. Alrighty. So that is my song and dance, and I'm going to stop sharing so I can see everybody's beautiful faces. And Kendall, I'm going to give it back to you.
Mitch, that was exceptional. Thank you so much. I did have a few questions that were put in the chat box kind of towards the beginning of the presentation. I think you did a really good job of answering most of those, so I'm just going to fire away with a couple. You mentioned we have 4 vessels. Can you share of those, which are the smallest in terms of capacity?
They're identical. They're all the
They're,
same size.
they're
30,000.
absolutely the same.
Yeah, 30,000 tons, 700 guests.
Okay, perfect. Now, in terms of most popular destinations that you see for this year, what would you say?
Okay, Japan is incredible. And as a result, next year we have 5 Japan intensives. This year, I think we had 2. So that is very, very popular. Nobody, in my personal opinion, nobody does Europe better than us. So if you're thinking about doing Europe, I would definitely point you in the Azamara direction. And I've been on many other cruise brands as well. And I personally got hooked on Azamara. And I'll just share a personal story with you all. I've been with Royal Caribbean and Celebrity since I was hired in August of 2001. Okay. So fast forward, I was on prior to joining the dedicated Azamara team, I was on the Royal Caribbean team. And I was in charge, I was repping also Azamara. And I said to myself, okay, if I'm going to be talking about Azamara, I need to know what the heck I'm talking about. So I actually took a personal vacation on Azamara in 2011 in Europe. I fell in love with the product. And it was strictly because of the itineraries, the places we went to that big ships can't go to, the late night stays, the overnight stays, the inclusions, etc. Every year thereafter, I only would sail on Azamara for my personal vacation. I would not go on the sister brands at that time. I fell in love with it, and I would always do Europe. So just sharing that with y'all.
All right, I think that's great. That's very telling. Um, for other people that have maybe done other luxury brands, let's say Silver Sea, Viking. I mean, you certainly share the comparison about being in the destination longer, um, more into the evening. But is there any other comparison components you can share that might shine for Azamara?
We're really a great value at the end of the day. But what you're going to find, okay, people often ask that comparison. Where we differ is going to be in the itineraries. If you take our itinerary and you put them side by side anybody else's, you're going to find, again, more port intensity coupled with more time in the ports of call. So it really allows our guests to take a deeper dive into the destinations. Again, the number one reason why people choose a cruise is because of the destinations. And then we have our inclusions. Now, other luxury lines are going to have more inclusions. They typically will have, they will include shore excursions, but it's a menu that you can choose from.
Right.
But it may not be what you want. When you think about that price value relationship, even if you book your shore excursions with what we offer and you pick the ones you want, we again are going to be a much greater value. And the other thing that where we really differ is going to be our onboard staff and service. And what is really remarkable when you sail in Azamara, the staff becomes your family, and we treat our guests as family. And that is something that is very, very noticeable. You're going to find engagement with our officers. And the first time I mentioned back in 2011, the first time I sailed with Azamara, I boarded the ship early. We were on deck having some beverages, and this gentleman walked by. He was in uniform, so I knew he was like an officer. He ended up coming over, introducing himself to us, sat down with us for around 5 minutes. It was the captain. I have never had the captain on any cruise line come over and talk with me and my friends. And they didn't know I worked for the company. They had no idea who I was. I was just a guest. And that is what you're going to find with Azamara is the engagement from the officers all the way down to all of the staff on board. It truly is quite remarkable.
Well, I'm telling you, Mitch, from what you've shared today, I'm pretty sure that a lot of people have been sold. I mean, the itineraries alone that you shared, extremely unique. And it does sound like a perfect fit for a lot of our clients. So I hope that those of you that joined us today and those of you that watch us in the future will give us a call. Make sure that you mention I love Azamara so you can take advantage of our special 2-week promotion. And remember that all of those different components are combinable. And thank you again so much, Mitch. We really do appreciate you. And remember, Mitch is at our disposal. So anything that you have additional in terms of follow-up, feel free to ask me or the team, and we can always check with Mitch as well. So thank you all again for joining us. And thank you again, Mitch.
My pleasure. Thank you all.
Have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.